Do you have a story? Everyone has a story to tell, sometimes many stories. What did you do today? There's a story. Who are your friends? There's another one. Sometimes groups of people share the same stories. Families, towns, even whole countries have stories. History is a collection of stories. Australia has a long history and many, many stories. There are the ships that came to Australia a long time ago from England. Some came to start a new life, others came because they were forced. These people were called convicts. Not all the convicts were bad. Some had been so hungry that they had stolen food just so they could eat. Some were even children. The youngest convict was only 9 years old. He had stolen some clothes, so he was sent to Australia for 7 years. Some kids are sent to their room if they are naughty. Imagine being sent to the other side of the world. Here's a story of another young boy. He wasn't a convict, he was an orphan. His name was Leonard, and he was tucked away on one of these ships. He was travelling to Australia with his mother's cousin, Reverend Richard Johnson, and his wife Mary. Leonard was a quiet boy. He was teased so terribly for speaking with a stutter that he was too embarrassed to speak. It was a lonely life not talking, but luckily he had his books to keep him company, as well as his pencils and paper so he could draw. The journey to Australia from England took 10 months. The thought of this journey to a new empty land had frightened Leonard. What would it be like on the other side of the world? He tried so hard to imagine it, but he couldn't see anything at all. The ships were full of people and full of stories. During that long journey, many stories were shared. Who knew what tales lay ahead in this mysterious new land? As for the people who were already here, the Aboriginal people, they did not know what to make of these newcomers. They had been here for 60,000 years, long before the country was discovered by Europeans, and even longer before it was named Australia. Leonard was pleased to get off the ship and to walk on land again. He spent his days wandering around the new settlement. Everyone was busy, and they took no notice of Leonard. He had never felt so lonely or small. He clutched his sketchbook, hoping that drawing this new place would make it seem more like home. One day Leonard went walking in the heat of his new topsy-turvy world. It was January. Back home in England it would be snowing now. Even the birds sang different songs here, and everything seemed so much brighter and more dazzling. Soon all he could hear was the sea. There was no one else around. Suddenly the strangest thing he had ever seen jumped out in front of him. He watched, terrified, as it came a little closer. Leonard got such a fright that he dropped all his drawing things. As he fumbled around picking them up, he heard laughter. Oh no, he thought, someone had seen him and now they were laughing at him. Who could it be? His face became hot and red as he searched for where the laughter was coming from. Sure enough, playing in some nearby rock pools, he discovered who it was. It was a little girl named Milba. She loved nothing more than lying in the rock pool, where the water would gently splash and her fish would swim around towards her. Milba was from Euro tribe. She had wandered off to catch a glimpse of the new people, these ghost people she had heard about. The thought of them had frightened her, but she still did not feel scared at all when she saw Leonard. Now all she was thinking of was how she would like to rub his skin to see any of that white would come off. Suddenly she rubbed hard at his cheek. It stayed the same colour. And so began the friendship between Milburgh and Leonard. Without words they could still tell stories, sometimes drawing in the sand to make a point. Together they wandered the land, and Milburgh showed Leonard astonishing animals. Some looked cuddly, some looked fierce. Some had feathers and some had scales. Just when he thought he had seen everything, Milburgh introduced Leonard to a mysterious creature. It had a bill like a duck, and it laid eggs, but it didn't have any feathers. Instead, it was kind of furry. It was so strange that Leonard thought Milburgh was playing a trick on him. Leonard, for his part, introduced Milburgh to the particular animals the new settlers had brought with them. Milburgh was wide-eyed with wonder when she saw a sheep and a cow. Leonard showed how the wool was used for clothes, and then how to get milk from a cow. This made her laugh. The first time she saw a man on a horse, she thought they were one creature. Then there was the day of the dog and emu race. Guess who won? The emu. Milburgh knew how much Leonard liked to draw, so one day she took him to a very special place. Leonard saw paintings on the cave walls. He understood that it was a magical and sacred place. The figures on the walls seemed to glow and dance before their eyes as if they were alive, whispering their ancient stories. When school started in the settlement, Leonard still found time to play with Milburgh. He made other friends, but Milburgh was the one he couldn't wait to tell everything to. One day Milburgh's tribe decided it was time to move on. With no time to even say goodbye, all she could do was dash to the place where they first met and draw something she hoped he would understand. The next day Leonard saw Milburgh's drawing and he waited for a long time. He went again the next day, but he knew she was not coming back. Leonard's heart was heavy and sad. Milburgh had been his first best friend, and he would never forget her. Years went by, and Leonard grew up. He became a teacher and stayed in Australia. It became his home. He married and had children with another girl who had also grown up in this new land. He would often think of Milburgh and wondered where she was. Milburgh grew up to be fierce and strong. She was a wise and important elder in her tribe. Whenever she looked at a beautiful sunset with her children and family, she would wonder if Leonard was looking at the same sunset with his family. This is Leonard and Milburgh's story. What's your story?